Everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch League Report. I'm Brian.
I'm Ben.
And Ben, week 3 is in the books. We're almost to Dallas, but before we look past it, tell me about the week that was.
Yeah, so this was a really wild week. There was a lot of firsts that happened. New York's first loss of the season as far as regular season games. We had a record-setting match with the most map points scored, including playoff matches that go 7 games like the Stage 1 finals did. With, I believe, the final tally was 33 map points across 4 maps.
Sunreal.
Pretty wild.
On Kings Row, it was 8-7. Ben, I didn't even know that was a possibility.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever seen double overtime happen on a hybrid map before. It was definitely wild. And coming off of a 7-6 on Hanamura as well.
And even more insane. Well, one, of course, shout out to the Charge. We both guessed that they'd lose more maps in a row than they did. So, congratulations. We were wrong. But even more insane is that the team the Charge also beat another pretty good team. Tell me about Atlanta and what is happening down there. Or I guess they're all in the same place.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
I mean, Atlanta are an enigma right now. Up until this week, they had been looking real bad. They had been not playing Daco. This week they started playing Daco again. Fried got a little bit of play here and there on a couple of maps, but Daco came back as the primary off-tank starter, and they performed better, and they performed especially better in their first match of the week.
I would say so.
NYXL.
Yeah.
Where they handed New York their first regular season loss of season 2. So that was really wild. And then later on in the week, the final match of the week, they played against a Charge team who has not won a match in maybe close to 14 years at this point. And the Charge upset them. Mm-hmm. The Charge didn't upset them. They almost 4-0'd them. They almost at least 3-0'd them.
Right.
Because Hanamura could have been a draw. Like, Rain barely won Hanamura past it being a draw.
Yeah, so. And I guess, what did Rain do in the NYXL match, and what did they forget to do against the Charge? Like, this seemed like, the concept of a trap game, obviously made for the beers at home. A trap game is when it's the game after the Dolphins play the Patriots every year. So the team that sucks gets really hyped up and beats the good team and then loses to a lesser team the next week. This pretty much seems like that.
Yeah, it's pretty comparable to that, I would say, where you have the crazy upset and then you have the embarrassing downfall. I just don't understand this team, because looking at the Charge, there are times where they're just executing things to perfection. Where you look at the Kings Row holds they had, where they were just holding New York at spawn on B for 2 to 3 minutes, and it's just it was embarrassing that New York couldn't get out of spawn. And then you look at their Rialto push, where Baby Bay is pulling back out of a team fight that's still he is singly C9ing off of he's basically doing a C9 without actually losing.
Right.
The team fight is happening and Baby's I think I'm just gonna back off towards the bridge when there's a fight happening around the corner and the first point. And it's you just can't do things like that. It's just really, really sloppy, messy mistakes. And that's just the most obvious peak mistake that the Rain made in that match. And there were just numerous times where they were doing things that were just completely you wouldn't even see most contenders teams do, or if they were, they'd be being relegated to trials. I don't know. it's just perplexing. There are some teams in this league, and Atlanta is one of them, that their ceiling and their floor are just like are in completely different planets.
Yeah, and we even saw this in Stage 1 when DeFran was on the team. Like, there were some times where he smoked their opponents, and then they would just lose. The next day, it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, right now, I think the Reign are probably like a mid-low team, probably like ranked around the 12 slot. Even though they upset one of the best teams in the league, and a team that's regularly included in this like godly top 3 of the Titans XL shock. So I mean, we'll see. It's just I feel like every single week when we're talking about the Reign, it just comes down to like we'll see, and like the more I see, the more confused I am. Like, I'm not actually learning anything when I watch them play. It's just getting more and more confusing.
It's like, okay, that happens every week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are there any teams that you are more sure of after this week?
Yeah, no, I think that a couple of teams really proved themselves. I think London and Seoul are 2 teams that have definitively put themselves into the like 5 and 6 slot right now. If I were to make a ranking, I'd put London 5, Seoul 6, because they both 4-0'd what I would consider top 10 teams in the Uprising and the Fuel. So like they weren't like they definitively beat teams where like the matches should have been at least like, you know,
closer, 3-1.
Closer, yeah. They would have been at least competitive, right? They didn't like 4-0 the Mayhem or something, right. Or 4-0 the Outlaws like the Fusion did, where the Fusion are still, in my opinion, getting overrated.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair for the Fusion. They're another team that's a little confusing, but I think at this point we're starting to see who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, no, I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. It's just, I think that even to this point, their schedule has been easy, and the teams that they've been playing against have been in the process of falling apart, like the Defiant, who didn't play this week. Actually, no, they did play. They lost to the Shock, right? That was on Thursday.
By the Shock, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I tried to shut that out because it was pretty embarrassing.
But you know, the Shock did what they do. You know.
Yeah.
Like that sign said, Bumper does whatever he wants. The Shock do whatever they want, except for beat the Titans. Apparently,
they got close, and they might do it. They might do it this time. They're playing a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And on that note, I think we're kind of like seeing like, okay, there are definitive tiers. The bottom tier, you know, the Justice, unfortunately, the Mayhem, probably are the 2 that are locked down there. Then there are a couple like, you know, bad but still mid tier, and then all the way goes up to like good mid tier, which would probably be like Boston, you know, in that range. Shanghai, good mid tier, they can win, but also they'll blow it, or if they play one of the top tier teams, they'll lose. Then you have like the top tier teams, the real teams that are going to potentially win each stage, win the whole thing, and Shock, NYXL, and then of course the Titans, who have yet to be beaten still, and they really took it to our Boston Uprising, man. Oof.
Yeah, no, that was not great. I mean, the maps themselves were closer than I expected them to be, but the series overall was still 4-0.
Yeah, it's weird because I do feel good about the Uprising after that match because they play them tough, but it's just like such a testament to how talented Vancouver is, like where you can feel like, well, they didn't really make like too many big mistakes and they still got 4-0'd.
Yeah, I mean, there were like a couple of like small mistakes they made that like gave, like, Vancouver is very good about like when you make like a minuscule mistake, just taking it and just like forcing open a window. So, for instance, on Paris, there were a couple of times. Do we have to talk about Paris? I mean, I think that map is like a perfect like like clinic on what Vancouver can do when you like give them an inch. They're just gonna take a mile.
Yep. They
and
were
just
so
thought,
close, Ben. They were so close to winning that
yeah,
map.
99.8, and yeah.
Oh, God. Huh, but what can you do, man? What can you do? Who would you like to talk about next?
I think that we talked a little bit about what the top tier teams are, the teams that are looking good, the what I would consider probably the top 6 or 7 teams at the
Mhm.
moment.
Oh,
We can talk
I
about
forgot to put London. I also consider in that top in the Gladiators. So there are 5 teams I think that can win potentially the league if Vancouver can ever be beaten.
yeah, and 4 of those teams, the teams that aren't New York,
Mm.
have the potential to all go undefeated for the stage. We could go into the stage
Hey,
one
New
or
York
stage
could
two
have had it too.
playoffs. Yeah, New York could have. Yeah,
That's
we could
entirely
go
on
in.
them.
We could go into the stage 2 playoffs with half of the teams being undefeated.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's how we got this like clear view of where we're at right now.
Yeah,
So
something that we pointed out a lot in stage 1, where there were a lot of map 5s, there were a lot of 3-2s, a lot of really close
mm,
matches. And I think now we're getting to the point where we're seeing a lot of shutouts.
yeah.
Half of the matches this week were shutouts, and there was only one match that went to a map 5.
Mm.
So I think that we're definitely getting a much clearer view of where most of these teams kind of stack up.
Yeah, let me tell you, Ben. While writing recaps, I actually appreciate when they don't go to map 5. So I have to still fit it in 750 words. So the
Right.
less maps, the better, because I can get a little wordy.
Yeah, if anyone wants to check out the blogs that we do or that you do mostly at wickedgoodeverything.com,
Yeah, check it out. New one
or
came
your
up on Monday.
yeah, you just put one up,
Mm-hmm.
and then also your blogs over at the Game House.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're getting that. We get everything I can write as much as I want. No one can tell me no. The Game House, I do have a limit on how much I'm allowed to write.
Yeah, the editors can tell you no when they don't want to edit 10 pages.
It will never be that long. Don't worry, anybody who's potentially reading a verse to that. But yeah, who would you say is your biggest disappointment in stage 2 thus far?
I would say coming out of this week, the biggest disappointment is definitely the Houston Outlaws.
Right. Especially after that first map against the Titans, we were like, okay, we see
Yeah,
you, Houston. And then they haven't won a map since? Or,
nope, they
yeah,
did
they
not.
haven't won a map since.
No,
They did tie
they drew
one.
a map.
Yeah.
Yep, they drew a map against Shanghai, but that was
Oof,
it.
that's brutal, Ben. Tell me about
And
this. What's happening now?
they drew a map in the 0 cap Anubis round against Shanghai.
Yeah, they got Fuller held, and then the next map on Blizzard World, they got full held again. So that's how bad their offense is right now.
Yeah, against Shanghai,
Mm.
they went 0-0-0 the first 3 maps. They
Oh
didn't
my God.
get a single map point until map 4. So
Brutal.
yeah, Houston's not looking good right now. They still have yet to really piece together a consistent lineup that like makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They keep playing these DPS comps, and like they work really well on certain maps where you can see players like Linkser come in and pop
Mm-hmm.
off on like Soldier and all
Mm-hmm.
these other fun Tracer and stuff. These heroes that like or Widow, for instance, he's
Oh,
crazy on a
he
lot of
went
these. Yeah,
off on Widow
he's
on
this
map
is what
four.
the reason he's called Dinkser, right? He gets kills.
Right.
He shoots
And then he
heads.
had to switch to Zarya on the last point, and that's when they lost.
Yeah, no, they just play these all-in strats because they assume that they can win. Like for instance, on Busan, I think that most teams have figured that they can play a DPS comp on Sanctuary and Mecha Base,
Mm-hmm.
and generally we're seeing kind of a goat's mirror happen on downtown. And so a lot of these teams will kind of just go all in on winning the 2 points on that map
Yeah.
where you can play these DPS compositions and kind of like sacrifice the downtown matchup. And I mean, there are some teams where that strategy has worked,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of it's kind of sketchy. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
a lot of teams might just be better off playing goats better. But I mean, it
Hey,
worked.
how about you
Worked.
just get good at goats? I don't understand.
But I mean, there are times like the Titans Outlaws
Mm,
match the week before this past one we're talking about, where they did this and executed it and won on
mhm.
Busan using the strategy. So like
Right.
it's very hit or miss. It's very all in strategy,
Mm,
and sometimes it can produce these like crazy results. But um, when you're a team that's just as inconsistent as the Outlaws have been, it's not the kind of thing where you're necessarily going to be wanting to go all in.
right. Speaking of goats, how do you feel about where we're at right now in the professional level, anyways?
I mean, it's marginally better than
Mm,
stage one. I think that the first week of this stage we saw much fewer ghost comps than we're seeing now. I think a lot of teams have finished experimenting.
ca-
Although this week we saw a lot of Doomfist. There's like this new trend, especially with the Chinese teams,
mm,
of running Doomfist, especially on the attack point of hybrid and escort
mm,
maps. So like the escort points where you're running Doomfist over your diva, and even like there was points where who was it? Eileen was popping off on Doomfist on the assault map. So like I
mm,
mean maybe this is a strat that's going to be something that we see more of in the coming
mm,
weeks. It seemed like it worked pretty well. Even on like Lijiang Tower, there were teams just really being able to flip points that they wouldn't be able to flip with a diva by
mm,
using Doomfist. And it's a strategy that like Boston tried, for instance,
mm,
very briefly, because Blase is well known as a Doomfist player.
mm.
But yeah, seeing players like Jinmu and Eileen play these like weird off heroes is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot more goats than we had seen at the start of the stage, which is it is what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, it kind of came back down, and in the biggest thing is that Vancouver is so good at goats. Granted, they
Yeah.
also mess Boston's shit up uh, in the bunker buster comp at the end of that. So, maybe Vancouver's just good in general, but they are especially good at goats.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the fact that their players are just like individually skilled,
Mm,
they have the advantage of having played together in this meta coming into the Overwatch League
mm,
when they played in Korean Contenders Season
right.
2. So like they've had this existing synergy that they've been playing together for uh, for well beyond like they've basically played together for as long as most of the season one Overwatch League teams, if not
Mm,
longer for some of the players like Bumper Haxel.
mm,
Um, so like in a meta like goats where you're seeing like teamwork and synergy being a huge component in success, having a team like the Titans who have played together for so long and who have had more existing play time in this meta that these other teams haven't, because the meta kind of came into effect like towards the end and then right after Overwatch League ended,
right.
but when contenders were still running.
Mm,
That instead of away match matches
mm-hmm.
that we're getting other than like the finals from last year, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So, what do you think of that? Obviously, a much shorter schedule next week. In fact, let me pull that up. We only have games on Saturday and Sunday, and only
Yep,
8 matches each, or rather, only 4 matches each day. 8 teams playing.
eight in total.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So there's 8 teams playing. They're playing in one configuration of matchups on
Yeah.
Saturday, and then they're being all swapped up again and playing different teams within the same 8 teams
Mm-hmm.
in different matchups on Sunday, culminating with the Texas
for
head-to-head
Texas.
rivalry.
Let's go.
Yep. I mean, the people putting together these schedules know what they're doing.
Yeah. And
So,
even better, it says it's going to be at 6:15. Hopefully that's Eastern time, because if it is, probably be over in time for us to watch Game of Thrones.
yeah, which has been a real annoyance the last 2 weeks.
Especially this week.
Yeah, and it's a pretty exciting second half that to not watch live. So yeah, that'll be really cool. I think that a lot of that probably just has to do with them doing the games at the same time, but it's Central Time or whatever time. I don't know what time zone.
I believe it is
Central.
Central.
Is it Central?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice. Can finish the matches a little early. Less matches to watch, which is both a good and a bad thing when you're covering, because there's less to talk about, but it's easier to digest it all. So yeah, I'm excited.
And, I am too. Neither of my teams are playing next week, so I won't be writing for the Game House, but I will have 2 articles coming out this week, so make sure you check that out. Ben, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ben Sharon. I've been tweeting a little bit more about the Overwatch League. I had a lot to say on Twitter about the New York Atlanta game as it was happening. Just a lot of shade and a lot of shock, and not the San Francisco kind.
Ben, we were there, so
yeah.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at TheFakeBMar. That's BMARR. And of course, you can find Wicked Good Everything on Twitter at WG Everything, on Instagram at Wicked Good Everything, right here on YouTube at youtube.com/WickedEverything, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/WickedEverything. Ben, did I forget anything?
I hope not.
We already shouted out the blog. You guys can find that. You guys can go back, listen to it, give us some more watch time if you're really curious. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this episode, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification, and let us know. Who do you think is going to win the Battle of Texas? It's probably going to be Dallas.
I would assume so, yeah.
If you have a hot take, we'd love to hear. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great rest of your